Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. Glad that you're with us. I got a lot of things I want to talk about. First of all, before I get into all of that, I want to apologize for running a little bit late. I had to take my kids to the airport to go to the Nexus to get their cards renewed. And what should have taken about half an hour took about an hour and a bit. So I was rushing to get back here. So I know I said I'd start at 5, but I'm a little late, or 8 Eastern. So let's just get the chat box popped out here so we can get everybody's questions in when it's time to do that. So I apologize for being late. I do want to talk about a few things though. One is that if you want to get these as a podcast, go to SoundCloud and search for Motormouth Canada. I've had some requests, people saying, can I get these as a podcast? I've started the process with iTunes. It's very complicated, it seems to me, to try and get it all going on Apple iTunes, but I will get there eventually. But right now, this is good for Android and for Apple users if you want to get these as, and all they are is just the audio version of this as a podcast. So that's one thing. All right. Now, the other thing is, you're going to start to see some videos coming out here on the channel that are basically looking at cars that are for sale. And these are sort of hand-picked cars by me and my colleague. So I have a good friend that I've bought and sold many cars with over 20 years now. And he is a car broker, I guess, a very small boutique dealership. And he really only deals in very hand-picked cars. So I'm going to be working with him to select just a few hand-picked cars that you can have a look at and share with your friends and see if you're interested. So what you're going to see is on my website, motormouth.ca, are called Zach's Picks. And when you go on there, I've only got one car up there just now. There's a perfect example. It's a 2014 Porsche Cayman. You click on that and all the information is on there, a brief description about the price and the kilometers. This one, for example, only has 17,000 kilometers on it. And then you can go through all of the pictures, and I will be adding videos for these as we go through the weeks. And one car that's going to be coming out very shortly is my own personal Audi A7 is going to be up here for sale, and some other hand-picked cars. And it'd be good to hear from you what kind of cars you're interested in. Are they sort of family cars, or are they sporty cars like this? And then if you're interested, just go to the bottom and just fill in your name, your email, and your phone number, and send it in. And I will get back to you with any kind of questions you have. And then what will eventually happen is my friend Cornelius, he's the one that's going to be doing, I don't have a license to sell cars. I don't sell cars, but I'm going to be introducing cars to people. So let me know if that's of interest to you. The other thing, so yeah, let's go back to that for a second. SoundCloud. Go to SoundCloud and look for Motormouth Canada to get the podcast version of this. And also, there's going to be a new contributor to the channel. Of course, regular viewers know that Mike Gurr is in Toronto. He's been a great asset. Young guy, very keen on cars. He's a busy person as well. He's got his own business. He owns a small microbrewery in Kensington Market. So that's Mike. And there was another fellow, for those that are not aware, I did a sort of a casting call. I asked people to send in auditions for the channel, and I got over 100 videos, and there was 2 people that sort of jumped to the top. The number one was Mike, really great speaker, being able to put his thoughts together in a concise way. And the other was a young guy out of Alberta called Max Landy. Now, Max and I met last week here in Vancouver, and he's keen to give some videos to the channel, and I said, yeah, let's try one out. So shortly you're going to see Max popping up on the channel here. So he's based in Canmore, Alberta, but is going to be moving to Calgary, and this is the vehicle he had when he was in Vancouver, which is the Armada from Nissan. So this is his first video for the channel. It'll be coming out shortly. So look for Max. He's very keen to get started doing reviews as well. Now, the one thing you're going to notice about Max, when he's on, he's got a wonderful British accent. And anybody who reviews cars that has an English accent automatically sounds way smarter than everybody else. So that's Max Landy. So look for his videos coming out. Excuse me. I literally rushed back here from the airport to do this. All right. So that's what's going on the channel. It's great to have your feedback. So let's get into the chat box and see what's going on. There's a lot of people lined up, and I apologize once again for being late. All right. This one says, when is the 2019 Hyundai Santa Fe out in the Canadian market? It's going to be later this year. They just showed it in right when the Seoul Games are on, not the Seoul Games, the Winter Games in Korea. They showcased the Santa Fe, and they're going to be showing it at the Geneva show this week, and it will be coming later in this later this year. When the exact timeline will be, I don't know. Best bet is for the fall as a 2019 model year. Dream Cruiser says, best part of my Sunday. I like that. It's the Oscars tonight, boss. We have less viewers tonight. I don't know. I got to say, I sit on airplanes all the time, and I watch a lot of videos, and I watch a lot of movies on airplanes. I'm going to tell you, there's not a lot of great movies out there. So Oscars, I don't really care about. The more interesting thing is the whole Me Too movement, and anybody's going to talk to Ryan Seacrest. Zach, this is from Philip. Zach, do you drove the new Honda Accord 1.5T? The simple thing to do is to look on my channel. Yes, of course, there's a new Accord video on there. Thoughts and comments on the newly designed Volkswagen Jetta. Just got an invite from Volkswagen Canada. I will be going to the Jetta launch, which is in South Carolina, North or South Carolina, and it's going to be coming up in April. So the first or second week in April is when we get a chance to drive the all-new Jetta. Jetta is now on the MQB platform. So the Volkswagen Golf, the Atlas, the Tiguan, all run on the MQB platform, which has been a massive hit for Volkswagen. And the Golf has won all kinds of awards, World Car of the Year, North American Car of the Year. But the Jetta that we have currently in dealerships is not built on that same platform. This new Jetta will be built on the platform, but the major differentiator between the Golf and the Jetta moving forward is the fact that the new Jetta will not have independent rear suspension. Now, I haven't driven it yet. There have been others who have driven it and claim that it's just as good, but you'll have to wait until we get our hands on it here at the beginning of April. Hey Zach, is there any particular reason Honda Acura are using push buttons for their transmissions? I bought a 15 MDX, and the 16 model they also had a lot. Had a lot because of gear shifter. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. What do I think of the push button thing? For me, it's a bit of a gimmick. I've been on record, I'm no fan of the Acura Honda shift lever thing. And the interesting thing for me is when they put it in the center console there, it doesn't save any space at all. It takes up the exact same amount of space if you had the column shifter, not the column shifter, but the lever back and forth. So I don't understand why they're moving to that, but we're seeing it more and more. Another one is the GMC Terrain, also has a push buttons shifter thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then the Chevy Equinox is the cousin vehicle of that GMC, has a regular shifter. I don't know. People speak with their wallets. If people don't like it, then buy something else and they'll change it eventually. Why is the new 7 Series resale value so low compared to the new S-Class and the same as the 750, the 16 and 17 750? Well, there's, you know, the old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. The bigger the sedan, the faster they depreciate. A 3 Series will not depreciate as quickly as a 7 Series, and the same, and then in the middle is the 5 Series. So the big luxury sedans are really best for people who lease them, a business person, and they get to drive those cars. But there are some amazing deals on used cars like a 3 or 4 year old BMW 7 Series. But here's the thing, when you buy it for 50 cents on the dollar, it doesn't stop depreciating. It keeps depreciating. Ask me how I know. I bought a 7 Series years ago. It was 2.5 years old, and I thought I got a great deal on it, and I did, but I didn't realize, or I quickly found out, that that depreciation curve continues. The S-Class is kind of like still the benchmark for pure traditional luxury. The BMW would still lean more towards a performance-oriented car, but S-Class is still an S-Class, and if you haven't driven in the new S-Class, it's really hard to describe it, but it's an opulent place. It's so smooth and refined. It has the air suspension, so I'm not sure why, but all of them depreciate very quickly. Rodney Chan, I'm in the market for a midsize SUV, Highlander or Atlas. What will be the better choice? Well, the Highlander is a great product. The Atlas is bigger. So here's the thing. My wife and I, the video just went up yesterday. There's the CX-9, okay? The Mazda CX-9. Competes in many ways with those products. But this is more stylish, more car-like, not as big on the inside. The Highlander will be bigger again, and the Atlas bigger than that. So you have to really decide for yourself, what is it that you're looking for in a midsize SUV? Do you use all three rows all the time? And you need to take a lot of people. Instead of buying a minivan, you want to get a mid-size crossover vehicle. If you're using all of those seats all the time, then the Atlas would be the one to get because it's bigger. If you're somebody that uses the rear seats on occasion, then a Highlander would be fine. If you're somebody that wants to use it really only once or twice a year, then something like this, the Mazda would be great. So you really have to decide what you want. When it comes down to a known entity in the marketplace, the Highlander, of course, has a track record and has a known resale value. The Atlas has only been out for not even a full year. I got a note though, and here's an interesting thing about the Atlas. Last month, the month of February, the Atlas outsold the Honda Pilot. Think about that. The Atlas is a better selling three-row midsize utility than the Honda Pilot. So go and chew on that for a second. Roy says, nice to see you, Zach. I want to know what you think about BMW in general. BMW is interesting to watch. The sales, I'm only going to, BMW in general, here's one of the things. Sales count for a lot because people do vote with their wallet and they're choosing other brands over BMW. Last year, at the end of 2017, Audi Canada was within 1,000 cars of beating BMW. Historically in the Canadian market, it's been BMW and Mercedes-Benz almost nose to nose every single year. And then what's happened in the last couple of years is Mercedes-Benz has leapt ahead, BMW has trailed behind, and Audi is now right there ready to catch BMW. So they're about 10,000 cars behind Mercedes-Benz now in the marketplace and only 1,000 cars ahead of Audi. Here's my personal opinion about BMW. Not innovative in design. All of their cars look the same. Not innovative in design in their interiors. Their interiors are beautifully put together. Wonderful materials. Their electronics are actually fantastic now, but they don't look any different than they did years ago. So their styling is looking a bit tired, the interiors are looking a bit tired, and some of the hallmarks of the brand have faded away a little bit. The 3 Series was the benchmark forever because it was the driver's choice. Well, I would argue now that there are other brands that do that sort of passionate driver's experience better than BMW. So they need to maybe go back to what made them great. And that's my thought on BMW. Well, we'll see at the end of 2018 if Audi surpasses BMW. BMW has a couple of tricks. Of course, they've got the new X3 and they'll have a new 3 Series as well. Hey, Zach, do you foresee the Tiguan having a stronger engine, a VR6 possibly? I don't think so. I asked Thomas, I did a question and answer with Thomas from Volkswagen a few weeks ago when I was at their winter driving program they had in Quebec, and it's a good watch, about 15 minutes long, but we go through many of the different questions around Volkswagen, so it's on there. And I asked him about the Atlas replacing the VR6 with, say, a turbo 3-liter, because Audi is moving towards new versions of their 3-liter gasoline turbocharged engine. And those older engines would be a great, like, for example, the 333 horsepower 3-liter V6 that's been used in many Audi products would be a perfect match for that Atlas. And the VR6 is a 25, almost 27-year-old engine now. It's a great workhorse, it's very reliable, however, it's not good on fuel. So that's something that could happen in the Atlas range. I really don't see Volkswagen upgrading the horsepower too much for the Tiguan, other than giving a more horsepower out of the existing 4-cylinder engine. For example, the Atlas 4-cylinder, the base model, has more power than the Tiguan. I could see that engine maybe sliding in there. Amberdeep Singh says, looking for a car under 8 to 10,000, which I need for a few months, something that would be able to sell fast in 3 to 4 months. Well, if you want to buy a car and sell it quickly, you go to the gold standards in a basic vehicle, like go and buy a used Civic or a used Corolla. buy it for the best price you can, drive it for a few months, and you should have no problem selling it again. Saladan says, what do you think about the Honda Civic 2018? There's nothing wrong with the Civic. Honda Civic a year ago, not this past year, but the year before, won every award for North American Car of the Year, Canadian Car of the Year. It's a great car. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Which one are you talking about? Just the basic sedan? It's a great product. Basil says, my family is buying a series of cars over the next year. My dad is in the market for a luxury sedan. I'm recommending he consider a Porsche Panamera. However, he's pretty fond of the S-Class. Well, they're very, very different cars. The Panamera is still a Porsche at heart. It has more of a sports car feel to it. It can be very smooth and refined if you want it to be. The S-Class is traditional luxury. Air suspension, floating over the road, very quiet. You just, it's a bit, like being on a cloud. Where the Panamera is, when you want it to be, man, that's a real Porsche. So whatever he likes. If he likes that smooth and refined, then get the S-Class. Ryan Moon, BMW X1 or Jaguar E-Pace. Driver enthusiasts, mostly one or two people in the car. These are very different products. The X1 shares the same platform as the Mini Countryman. A lot of people aren't aware of that. With this latest X1, it's got a shared platform with Mini. So it's got a transverse mounted engine, meaning the engine goes this way instead of along the body, traditionally the way BMWs have. So it offers more space on the inside. It is a fun car to drive, but if you've got those in the mix, try the Countryman. So the Countryman doesn't have as powerful an engine, but it's similar in its dynamics, because Mini also makes a great handling vehicle. I got to tell you though, that this E-Pace really impressed me. 246 horsepower and available almost 300 horsepower version. It was a load of fun to drive, and there were so many critics on the review said, oh, it's heavy. And my question to you, have any of you driven it? No, I've driven it. It's a great car to drive. It is so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Did I have more fun than the X1? I think I did. And it's a nice looking unit too. So watch the X1 review. I explained the whole Mini connection, and watch the new E-Pace that I just put up. And I think the E-Pace, if you're just talking driving dynamics, in my opinion, was fun. Hey Zach, what do you think of the Acura ILX 2014 as a first car? Goes for around $15,000 in Canada. It's funny, I was driving home from the airport. I just mentioned I was coming back, and I was driving behind an ILX, and I was looking at that car, and I was thinking, it's a lost Acura, in my opinion, in the sedan space, has lost its way. But that offers an opportunity, because to buy one new, yeah, you might not be the best choice, but these can be good deals in the used market. Another one, not everyone's going to roll their eyes and laugh, is a great used car is a Buick Verano. Okay, do you even know what that is? It's the Buick version of the Chevy Cruze, and it has one of the highest scores when it comes to dependability. 3-year dependability. But Buick is also a brand that depreciates really fast. So if you want just good basic transportation and you don't care about anything other than it's going to start and get you there and it's going to be actually very comfortable, a Buick Verano would be a great choice. Same thing for the ILX. As a brand new car, would I suggest it? Absolutely not. But if you can go out and get a used one for a good price, why not? And at 15 grand, you might be able to beat them up and get it even cheaper, because trust me, nobody's buying Acura ILXs, new anyway, not many. Chris says, can't wait for the new Audi A8, really attractive in my opinion. There's a review on the channel, go watch it. It's a bit staid and conservative for my taste, but if you like the look of it, that's all that really matters. All right, I'm jumping ahead here. Hey Zach, looking for a highway commuter car under $20,000 with most tech features for long-term reliability. I'm set on a 2017 EXT. Any other cars you would consider? That was going to be my choice. I would say that the Honda Civic as a highway cruising car, excellent choice. Very good choice. There's others, if you're looking at that. For long-term reliability, the Golf is a great highway car. It's got independent rear suspension. I always look for what the suspension is, especially when you're driving on the highway. Most people will say, well, what does it matter? You're driving in a straight line. Aha, until you have to change lanes very quickly or have some kind of avoidance maneuver. And if you don't think it matters, drive a car, if it's sold, for example, like the Hyundai Elantra with a torsion beam rear suspension, and then drive the sport model with the independent rear suspension, it's like night and day. So great choice, Honda Civic. Hi, Zach. Would you explain the difference in target customers between the Subaru Outback and the Subaru Forester? They seem very similar in configuration and size. Not quite true. Yes, the psychographics of a Subaru buyer are the person that likes to be going away or doing some kind of adventures, even though they might never. They like to be seen to be that kind of person. You know, the backpack, ski rack kind of crowd. Now, the Forester is your traditional crossover shape. The Outback actually is derived from a station wagon. You might not be old enough to remember, but Subaru, long before the Outback, had the Subaru Legacy, and they actually sold them in tandem. I started calling one the dress shoe and the other one the cross trainer. The Legacy was the dress shoe, the Outback was the cross trainer, and the Outback became more popular than the Legacy. They discontinued it, which is too bad. They had some really cool versions of that car as well. But yes, one is more station wagon-like and one is more crossover-like. So I would suggest that the Outback maybe drives a little bit more car-like and is available with the 6-cylinder, okay, where the Forester is not. So that's a differentiator as well. My mom is considering getting an SUV truck. She is deciding between a Nissan Armada and the Toyota Sequoia. I was recommending she get a Cayenne or an AMG. Well, of course, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say get a Cayenne or an AMG. The Sequoia is old, okay? The Armada is newer. And Max, who I just mentioned, is going to have his review of the Armada. If you're thinking of a premium product, the QX80, the Infinity version, has just been updated, is just coming to market now, and does look really quite smart. But don't kid yourself. It is the same product as the Armada. You're just paying quite a bit more money to get the Infinity badge on it. So between those two, I would say the Armada. And the Armada, by the way, is not built on the Nissan Titan platform. It's built on the Patrol, which is sold around other parts of the world. And it's a really well done product. The real shortfall for a lot of Nissan and Infinity products, the head units are really quite dated. But the Sequoia is even older. So between those two, it would be the Armada. JS1 says, thoughts on the new luxury tax in British Columbia and how it will affect sales, and what will it do to cars in the $150,000 to $60,000 range? Instant discounts? So those that are not aware, we have the new government in British Columbia brought in a budget, and they whacked. Basically, they're trying to whack foreign buyers, okay? If you haven't been to Vancouver, you live in another part of the North America or the country, we have a lot of mainland Chinese who have moved here to Vancouver. And they've had a major impact on house prices, because when you come from China and you're very wealthy, and most, not all of them, but a lot, there are a pocket of very wealthy mainland Chinese that have moved here, you can tip the scales in your favor because you can outbid to buy a house or a condo. That skews the market. But here's the thing. They brought in this tax, this budget, to go after people who buy high-end homes, $3 million, $5 million homes, and they brought in this tax to whack people who buy expensive cars. So I think it's $125,000. The tax is 15% on a car, and if it's $150,000, it's 20%. So 20% on a $150,000 car is $30,000. That's a huge amount of money. Will it affect the market? I think in the short term, yes, there will be people looking to buy high-end cars just under the $150,000 amount. But the one thing you have to remember, now granted, there are certainly people out there who are not from mainland China that can afford these cars. But when you look at that certain segment of the market that are coming from mainland China to buy cars here in the Vancouver market mostly, they don't really care that much, because these cars are way cheaper than they are in Beijing or Shanghai. The price of cars in China for these products, whether they're Bentleys or whatever, are much, much higher. So when you come here and you're getting the car at a 50% discount anyway, I don't think it really matters. And for people with that, the kind of money to spend $200,000 and $300,000 on cars, I don't think they care. Big Pizza Pie says, hey Zach, love your channel and your TV show. Are you still uploading videos to your watch channel? I know, I say it every week when people ask. I do have a channel called Watch This, where I do videos on watches, and I have to get to it more often. I apologize. So it's tough to do all of the videos and then do that as well. But I'm wearing a 1995 Tudor Submariner today. Edgerson says, hey Zach, thanks for the question and answer you did about the 2018 Volkswagen GTI. I took the Autobahn and have it since last Thursday and I love it. Well, good for you. I'm glad you like it. And I think it's a wonderful product. I think it's, you're gonna love it. Absolutely love it. Vlad says, hey Zach, great videos as always. Do you know when we'll get the 2-liter Stinger in Canada? Also, would it be like the American ones or the Euro ones? I think if we're going to get it, if it's the difference, I'm not sure what the difference is with the Euro ones, but anyway, yeah, we will get what's close to the American ones. We are going to get the 2-liter Stinger in Canada. This spring, when Ted Lancaster, I did an interview with him when the Stinger launch was in November, and you can go back on the channel and look for the interview I did with Ted Lancaster. And he mentioned in that question and answer video that the car is coming this spring. Now, spring goes from the end of March to the end of June, so that's 3 months. But yeah, so if you're really wanting the 2-liter, hang tight. What's the best SUV sub $50,000? Well, what kind of SUV? You want 5 seats, 7 seats? What do you want? You need to be a little more specific than that. Rick Byers, and by the way, Rick Byers, who won the Kia Stinger stuff that I was giving away a while ago, he was away on the Philippines on vacation. He's back now in Gatineau, and I mailed everything off to you, Rick, so hopefully you're going to get that in the next couple of days. Okay? He asked, what manufacturers have dash cams pre-installed? The only cars that I can think of off the top of my head are Cadillacs and Chevrolets. Cadillac, I did a review of the ATS-V, and the Corvettes have it as well. They use it more for performance data, so you can get a video, really what it was for going out on the track and doing laps, and then you can lay over top the data like the Gs, the revs, the speed, and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. But you can also use it just as a recorder. And I don't know why some manufacturers haven't done that. I mean, there are so many cameras on the cars nowadays anyway. Why don't they just have a place where you can stick an SD card in there, and every time you start the car, it restarts rolling over, and if you ever had an accident, it would be there. I don't know why they don't. But anyway, those are your choices right now, Cadillac and Chevrolet. Somebody says, Motormouth live chat over the Oscars, and I'm not even kidding. Well, I'm here. I'm not watching the Oscars. Is the new Volkswagen Touareg coming out soon? Funny you mentioned that. I just saw on Facebook today some spy pictures of the new Touareg, which looks a lot like the Q7, but maybe a little bit shorter. We are not getting the Touareg in North America. The Touareg for the rest of the world is coming out soon, okay? It might even be this week at the Geneva Auto Show where they unveil it. I think what's going to happen, the Atlas has been a monster hit for Volkswagen, especially in Canada. And by the way, Canada and the United States are so different when it comes to Volkswagen. Volkswagen's market share is way bigger as a proportion of the population in Canada than Volkswagen is in the United States. Volkswagen in the United States has been floundering for the last few decades, but in Canada, Volkswagen has been growing sales. They did very, very well. Once again, last month's sales were through the roof because they have Atlas, they have Tiguan, and they also have their cars like the All-Track and the Sportwagon available now in all-wheel drive. So you have all of that, plus you have a lot of people bringing their cars back because of the diesel situation. So they're hitting it out of the park. And as I mentioned, if you're just tuning in now, Volkswagen Atlas outsold the Pilot from Honda last month. So what I think is going to happen is we're going to get a smaller version of the Atlas, maybe called Atlas Sport, which will not have 3 rows of seats. We'll have 2 rows of seats, room for 5 people, similar in size to what the Touareg was, and hopefully just as competitively priced as the Atlas. That's what I think is going to happen. They did have a concept vehicle at the Detroit show a couple of years ago. It was called Blue something. It was the Blue Cross or the Blue, something like Blue Coupe. Anyway, you can look it up. Volkswagen Blue Cross, I think it was called. And it looked a lot like the Grand Cherokee. Great looking utility, so that might be coming. When is the Mazda 3 release date? Not sure on that, but we just have to wait. You know, a lot of these things, I'll tell you, to be honest with you, the car manufacturers don't know. They have an estimate of a quarter. They'll say it's in the second or third or fourth quarter, but actually nailing it down to the exact time when it's going to happen, it's very fluid until, you know, about 6 months out. Do you ride sport bikes? Would love Motormouth's standard review of sport bikes. Yeah, I don't know if you've driven in Vancouver. I don't want to ride a motorcycle. It used to years ago, but no, I don't, no thanks. But yeah, that's something we could add, but I don't want to do it. Shanna Kidd says, hey Zach, love your work, a fan for years. I have a 2015 VW Golf TDI. I got the phase 1 fix in the summer. Should I keep this car for long term? I love the mileage and I know VW is done with diesels. Well, here's the thing. The 2015, what do you have, a Golf? 2015, they did a fix on it, and much easier to repair the cars that already had the AdBlue or the exhaust gas fluid treatment already in there versus the older cars that didn't have that. So they've programmed it to use more of the fluid. They also changed some other, I think they did a catalytic converter swap. I'm not sure on that, but they did change some of it. The reviews are mixed. Some people are saying there's really no difference. Here's the thing. So many of these cars are going to be taken off of the market. So many are going to be gone. If you're a diesel fan and you want to sell that car down the road, you look after it's in nice shape, there's always going to be somebody that wants that car because you can't get them anymore. So here's the thing. The car is only a few years old. I would drive it for a few more years and enjoy what it offers. Amazing power, great fuel economy, all that torque. May be slightly different than it was before the fix, but what I'm hearing for the most part, it's pretty close. And enjoy the car. I would keep it. If it was one of the older ones that didn't have the AdBlue system, then no, I would get rid of it. I am in the market. You're going to find out hopefully within the next 2 weeks of the car that I'm getting that is diesel. Okay, so I love them so much, I'm getting another one. Yuri says, my favorite airplane movie was Edge of Tomorrow, Tom Cruise, and Groundhog Day. What's your favorite airplane movie? About airplanes, Yuri? Is that Yuri from the Straight Pipes? Edge of Tomorrow was good. Yeah, I really liked that. Here's the new thing I got going on. I only found out a little while ago that you can download Netflix on your iPad. That's a whole new world for me. So I'm watching series now of shows and stuff, which I never have time to do. Hey Zach, watch all of your videos, even driving TV. If you had to pick, would you pick sedan, Civic sedan, or Civic hatch? Civic hatch. Big question, are you buying manual or automatic? That's a big question. Because if you're buying manual, then the turbo in the hatch is fantastic, okay? If you're buying automatic, then I wouldn't buy either. I'd buy a Golf, but there you go. So right back. Hey Zach, what's your opinion on a used Lexus RX for reliability and ease to drive? Absolutely a wonderful product, okay? So the ones, okay, the less edgy one, the one that was sold, I think was it 2016, they brought out the new Lexus RX. That's the sharper looking one, quieter, more power, and the available adaptive suspension system, which makes it quite different, and a nicer looking interior. The ones prior to that were a little bit noisier, and that was one of my major critiques. And the dashboard, in my opinion, really didn't date well. So if you don't care about any of that, and you just want a good, reliable family vehicle, the Lexus RX is a fantastic choice if you're just considering reliability. So ease of use to drive, absolutely. It's one of the knocks against it is it's really a bit soulless to drive, the older one. The new one can be a little bit more dynamic to drive because they did change things like the suspension and the engine and what have you. But yeah, for reliability, knock yourself out. Nav's Showroom. Hey, Zach, I wanted to say hi from Brampton, Ontario. Been a subscriber for a while, and you've been doing an outstanding job. My question is, what are your top 5 sports cars from the past decade? Wow. I need a little bit more time to think about that off the top of my head. I could just name all 5 Porsches. That would be easy. Oh, I love the Mustang GT350 is going to be in there. The Corvette Z06, that was pretty hot to drive. Porsche Carrera GT3, and what else? Give me some time. I can't think right off the top of my head. And yeah, I'd have to think about that. Eric says, talk about the new Cayenne, please. Is air suspension necessary, base model or S model? You do not need to get the air suspension with the Cayenne. In fact, I wouldn't get it unless you're going off-road. And I guarantee you, 99.9% of people are not taking their Cayenne off-road. So you can remove that option if you don't want it. What I would spend your money on instead is the new dynamic chassis control. So there are electric actuators actually on the suspension mounts that raise and lower the suspension. So when you're typically going into a corner, the body will roll. The actuator actually pushes up the vehicle so it remains fairly straight through the corner. And does it make a difference? Oh yeah, it's excellent. This is the new 48-volt electrical system that we're going to start to see in more and more cars. Even the new Ram truck has a 48-volt system in it. They're using it for torque. Porsche's using it for being able to switch the engine off more often, and also this dynamic chassis control. So watch the video. I did a review. I was in Crete in Greece in October or November, and I got a chance to drive the Cayenne. I drove the S, which is amazing at 440 horsepower. But I'm here to tell you, the majority of people buy the base model Cayenne. And I think this new base model Cayenne is fantastic. So the Cayenne S, even though it has a 2.9 liter V6 turbo, the base model has a 3-liter version of the same engine. And you kind of wonder why do they have different displacements? Well, the higher output has a shorter stroke for the pistons to go up and down. Therefore, it's down 0.1 of displacement. So it's 2.9 versus 3 liters, but the same basic engine. And these are Audi-derived engines. That's why you're seeing them in Audi products and Porsche. And the way they work it between Porsche and Audi is Porsche does the V8 engines, that's their specialty, and Audi does the V6s. This new 3-liter in the base Cayenne is fantastic. And also, the way it's configured and the way you drive it, it really feels great. The other thing is the base model now gets 19-inch wheels as standard equipment. All of them come with LED headlamps. All of them come with the forward collision warning and advanced safety features. And the interior, all of them come with the large 12.3-inch screen. Okay, so it's a great product. So I would, if you're just driving it every day commuting, take that money, the difference, and spend it on some extra features, because that's super easy to do with a Porsche. Adding extra features is really easy to do. That's my advice. I think the base model is gonna sell even better than it did in the past. What would be a good daily driver while still being a fun car that's under 40,000? Well, you weren't here last week. We went through the whole Golf R GTI. And somebody wrote in just a while ago, I mentioned it, that they bought the GTI after the discussion we had last week in the reviews. And I still think that the GTI is probably the best car at $36,000 for the Autobahn, $31,000 if you want to get the base model for a great everyday car. And I said that in my review, is that if you had a car to drive every day and you had a GTI, you would be very happy. Very refined. See, the thing about that car versus a lot of other cars it competes against, and I talk about it often when I drive Volkswagens, I call it Audi Light, okay? So a lot of the refinement that goes into making Audis also is available in the toolkit to Volkswagen, and a lot of it comes down to things like engine mounts and suspension compliance and the way that they tune things, so you don't get that crashiness of a sporty car. You get a bit more of a compliant ride, which makes it a great everyday car. But when you dial it up and you throw it into the corners and you wind the engine out, then it's a very satisfying car to drive. This is Brian says, listening in from Houston. I love the Atlas. Thanks. Yeah, it's a great product. It's selling like crazy. In my neighborhood, I see more Atlas than I see Tiguan. It's just they're everywhere. And I think it looks really good in black. It looks really good in that dark gray. The gold launch color vehicle, ooh, didn't like that one at all. And white. Black, gray, and white, I think looks really smart. Tariq says, hey, Zach, any chance we will one day see the Up and Polo from Volkswagen in Canada? Absolutely no chance. First of all, these vehicles are made for the European market, different crash tests that they have over there. Europeans, if you've ever been to Europe, they drive much smaller cars than we do in North America. And what's happened, especially over the last 5 years in terms of sales in the Canadian marketplace, utility vehicles are just doing this, and car sales are doing this. So I actually have the numbers here. I was going to read them, but I had all that other stuff to talk about earlier. I'll do it next week, talk about the stats. The stats are mind-boggling, how fast the switch to utilities is happening and how fast people are moving away from cars. So even if Volkswagen brought in the Polo or the Up and they're the best car ever, who knows, I don't think they'd sell because people aren't buying cars. Rick says, do you recommend a good dash cam? Can you I haven't really reviewed dash cams. I'm sure there's loads of YouTube videos out there. You know, I think a high definition dash cam of any kind is going to be better than having none. Oh, somebody wrote in here below, Rexing is an awesome dash cam. So maybe people can chime in. Yeah, you can get it at Amazon. I just jumped ahead again. Sorry about that. Sorry, I got to go back here. All right. All About Vehicle says, hey, Zach, do you recommend the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel as a good daily driver pickup that gets good gas mileage for a truck? Absolutely, yes. I was able, with the Ram 1500 Eco Diesel, to get around 11 liters per 100 kilometers in the city. It's unbelievable. There's still a lot of question marks about the Eco Diesel being available for sale again. I hear that it's being cleared by the EPA for sale again. And the literature all about the new Ram, I'm going to drive the new Ram this week down in Arizona, is that they're not starting out of the gate with it, but you have new choices now. Chevy and GMC are coming with a diesel engine, and Ford also has a diesel engine available in the F-150 that's coming as well. But of the ones that I've driven, I thought the Ram Eco Diesel was fantastic. If you're just recommending it as a daily driver, it's going to be good on fuel. When are the new 911s going to be available? Well, we still have to wait for the car to be unveiled. Is it going to be this week in Geneva, or is it going to be in September in Paris? Traditionally, remember the 991.2 was shown in Geneva, so it could be this week. It could be this week. It might not be though, and I have a reason to believe it might not be, but I'll share that with you at another time. Why do we see less cars with multiple color tones for the interior except luxury brands? They all seem to be gray, black in the interior. I don't know, maybe because that's what people buy. It's probably got a lot to do with it. You can offer all the funky colors you like. If no one buys it, then the dealer's stuck with it. Hi, I want to know which is better, the Honda Accord or the Mazda 6 2018. Well, the Mazda 6 has been updated. I have to wait to drive it. I haven't, are you talking about the current car? The car that's for sale right now? I think the Honda Accord is got the newest and the latest. The Mazda 6, as I've mentioned many times, is the best car nobody buys. So if you're looking for a deal, now that's a different story. If you go in, they're like these Mazda dealers, Mazda 6s are wonderful cars, but if no one's buying them, here's an opportunity. Go in there and see if you can get a good deal. But if I was going to choose between those two cars, the Honda Accord is the brand new latest, and it really punches above its weight in many areas. In my opinion, especially interior refine and fit and finish. I think it's definitely above that car. Taylor asked a question I already answered earlier. What, in your opinion, is better, a family SUV for a family SUV, a Honda Pilot or a Volkswagen Atlas? Same thing again. What are you going to use it for? Is this going to be a vehicle that you use the 2 rows most of the time, the 3rd row once in a while? I think the Atlas is the closest thing you're going to get to a minivan replacement. In the past, the closest vehicle to a minivan replacement was the Ford Flex. The Flex is being phased out. The Flex, for those that never drove one, is a great product. And they had the available, I think, 365 horsepower EcoBoost V6. Man, that thing was a rocket to drive and a really nice car on the highway. It was all based on the old Volvo S80 platform. I'm kind of getting off topic. But if you're looking for a minivan replacement, Atlas, biggest, easy to get in and out of, all of that. If you're just looking for a mid-size utility with the occasional 3rd row, then the Pilot is the one to get. Don't, in my opinion, get the Touring. Get the one below that. Is it called the EXL? I'm trying to remember the nomenclature, but the one below that. The top one gets the 9-speed automatic. The one below and the entry level get the 6-speed. And there is a big difference in the way they drive. The 9-speed is the ZF transmission. The 6-speed isn't, and it makes a big difference. That's the one that I would buy. Hey Zach, love your videos in the live chat. I'm looking for a vehicle for my daughter who's attending university. I'm thinking small subcompact SUV and want Apple CarPlay. What do you think? The HR-V would be a good choice. Oh wait, double check on that. I think off the top of my head that the HR-V doesn't have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So you need to go online and check all of that out. I know that the CHR from Toyota does not have that. But double check on the Honda, because I think that's the one vehicle in their lineup doesn't have it just yet. I know the Mazda products aren't getting it, so yeah, you're gonna have to dig around a little bit. One I know is available is the Chevy Trax. Now that's a product that a lot of people don't think about, which is actually not a bad little car. If you ever get a chance to drive one, it's one that nobody thinks about, but it's actually a pretty good little vehicle. So yeah, off the top of my head, those are the ones I'm thinking about. Pierre Lambert. Pierre, by the way, won the Porsche bag that I gave away. And your package is in the mail, Pierre, so it should be coming your way in the next day or so. He's asking 2018 RS5 or Porsche 911 Carrera 4 GTS. Pierre, this is the easiest question of the night. It's going to be the Porsche 911 Carrera 4 GTS. Hello, 450 horsepower, and it's a 911. Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. The RS5 has the same output, almost, I think it's exactly the same, 450 horsepower. But it's got that new 2.9 liter engine that I referenced a moment ago in the Cayenne S. The Cayenne S engine is the same engine that's in the RS5, but it goes from 440 to 450 horsepower. It's a wonderful product, but for me, you cannot go wrong with a Carrera, ever in your life. Nestor Santos, hey Zach, do you think the new engine in the Subaru Ascent, the 2.4 liter turbo, will filter down to other models like the Impreza? So many people go on about Subaru Impreza, Subaru Crosstrek, and the fact that it needs a higher output engine. Now, I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but Subaru's rationale behind keeping their smaller engines in there is that they find that their buyers are looking for a combination of that sort of hatchback or Crosstrek utility, but also fuel economy. And they do deliver excellent fuel economy. So you're going to give something up. Is there a big enough market of people, like I've said to them, like, why don't you come out with a Crosstrek RS or GT or Sport or something? And they say, well, that's not the focus. I'm saying, yeah, but if you could sell 15 or 20% more of those cars because it has a turbo engine in it, why wouldn't you? Is that going to filter down into the Impreza? I don't think so. I think it will be used in other larger products, but probably not into the Impreza. Where We're There asks, what autonomous feature becoming more important? Do you see YouTube reviews changing? I'm holding off 2 car upgrades on a clear path to level 4 autonomous. Love your videos and pacing. Keep it up. Yeah, autonomous features are becoming more. Here's the thing. A semi-autonomous features that we have in cars now, like forward collision warning and autonomous braking. I'm all for those, okay? Those are excellent safety features that are gonna have, pardon the pun, a huge impact on people and avoiding collisions and those sorts of things. We are so far off from level 4 autonomous driving. Like people think it. One of the problems with a lot of people that talk about autonomous cars and electric cars, they're not car people. There are tech bloggers. They write about cell phones and computers and cameras. They don't know really much about cars. And everybody just buys this nonsense that we're all going to just jump in a car and it's going to drive us somewhere. It's going to be fully autonomous and it's going to run on unicorn dust. It ain't going to happen that fast. First of all, the average age of a car in the Canadian marketplace is over 10 years old. Okay, so even if everybody in Canada bought a 2018 car, in 10 years, if we had fully autonomous cars, well, you'd be dealing with a whole raft of cars on the road that don't have those features. So the fact that you're going to be able to get to a level 4 autonomous state is so far in the distance, and those cars are going to have to deal with non-autonomous cars. So it's going to be a long, painful teething process to get there. Trying to remember his name, Larry Hutchinson, president of Toyota Canada. I asked this very question to him, not this Detroit Auto Show, but the year before. I said, why are car companies promoting this fallacy that we're all going to be driving around in cars that do all the work for us? I said, it's a load of nonsense. You are hyping this autonomous electric car fantasy that isn't going to happen anytime soon. And he says, we're at the stage now where there's the hype that's up here. Everybody's buying into the hype, and then the cars start to come into the marketplace and the reality's down here, and then it's going to be a slow build up to what it's actually going to be. But nobody in the world has approved level 4 autonomous cars for mass use other than test fleets in the world. So don't get me started on all that. I go to all of these car launches and they talk about, oh, the future is autonomous and it's fully electric. You can't even get electric car sales past 1% in the world. Like, come on, we got a long way to go. Can you tell us anything on your views of the Toyota Tesla Roadster? Well, has anybody seen one other than shooting it into space? You know, with Tesla, I'll believe it when I see it. Barry says, is there a Honda Prelude in the near future? Gee, I hope so. I have seen some sites on the internet that show photos and a release date. I'm sorry, I don't scour a lot of other auto sites, to be honest with you, so I don't know about the Prelude, but I sure hope so. Prelude was a great car. And then they used to have the rear wheel steering car. So cool. I remember when I started reviewing cars in 1992, I went to the Honda zone office out in Richmond here, and I picked up the car, and they gave me a mug. It was really cool. And it showed, it's had a Honda symbol, and then when you put hot water in, it changed. And I should have kept it into the image of the Prelude. And that was the Prelude you got in, and the whole thing was, in those days, digital. It was really cool. They had some great cars. Celica's gone. Prelude's gone. Supra's gone. MR2 is gone. All of these cars, remember the Probe, the Mazda, what was the Mazda version of the Probe? The Mazda 6 Sport, I think, I can't remember now. But anyway, all of those two-door coupes are gone. You know why? Baby boomers got old and they don't buy two-doors. And here's another interesting thing. You look at a car like the GTI. So many people bought the 4-door of the GTI. They discontinued, or the 5-door, they discontinued the 3-door. So people vote with their wallet, and people aren't buying coupes. There's going to be a few high-end coupes from mainline manufacturers. Somebody just mentioned the RS5, for example, or the A5. Yeah, but overall, I think it's going to be tough. Somebody else asking the same question. Considering the Highlander versus Atlas as a people mover, 6 people on the weekends. So there you go. You're answering my question. So you're using this vehicle every single week to move 6 people. Do you prefer the Highland reliability, or would you take the risk with the Atlas? So that's your question. The Atlas is bigger. The Highlander's been around as a known entity. The Atlas is an unknown quantity when it comes to resale value and also reliability. The Highlander is absolutely known. Atlas has, you know, to prove itself in the marketplace. The Highlander is absolutely wonderful resale and durability. So it depends what motivates you. Are you willing to take a flyer on a new Atlas? I'm telling you, a lot of people are, because the sales numbers are bearing that out. Any chance to do, I guess, a hydrogen fuel cell in Canada? That's from Jason Jang. I did a review of the Hyundai Tucson hydrogen fuel cell vehicle when it first came to Canada. I had a chance to drive it. The review is on the channel. So yes, I have driven that vehicle. I haven't driven the Toyota one yet, but we're so far away from fuel cells, much like the fairy dust that's going to fuel the world and give us autonomous cars. That's even farther away. I do know that there is going to be a new hydrogen fuel filling station in Vancouver opening very soon, but we go from 1 to 2. Hee-haw. Somebody says, hope you're doing well. I sent you an email through your website a week or so ago. I do get a lot of emails, and I apologize. I travel a whole lot, and so sometimes I mean to, like I read it in an airport, and I mean to get back to it, and I don't. It's nothing personal. If I don't reply to your email, send it again. I will get back to you. I'm currently interested in a hatchback. Was looking at a Focus ST, great little car, Golf GTI, even better little car, an Impreza, something a little more fun to drive. The Focus ST is a bit rough and ready, is what I call it. It's a car that is aggressive. It's got a stiffer suspension. The seats are what I don't like about the Focus ST. They're heavily bolstered Recaro seats. However, the bottom, so this is where your butt sits and your knees are up here, there's no pitch control this way, which means your backside's always down and your knees are always up, okay? Which kind of gives you a really sporty feel, like you're stuck in there. But after a while, if you drive a long time, you just want to strain. You can't, because your knees are pointing up to the dashboard. So go and sit in one and give it a shot. I'm always going to come back to the GTI, but here's the other thing. This week I'm picking out a regular Golf, and then the next week I'm picking up the e-Golf. So I'm going to do something on the regular Golf, and then I'm going to show it against the e-Golf. But the regular Golf is a great car that is fun to drive and doesn't require premium fuel. That's the other thing that they changed with the GTI. GTI runs on regular gas. I was surprised when I went to fill it up. I'd forgotten about that. And then when I had to put the gas in to take it back, I'm like, oh, it takes regular. So you're going to be hard pressed to find a better car for the money than the GTI as an all-rounder. What do you think about the new Jaguar I-Pace? I think, first of all, the E-Pace is badly named. So if you're going to have an electric Jaguar, wouldn't you think it would be called E-Pace? No, that's the E-Pace, the smaller version of the F-Pace, or smaller, kind of like the F-Pace. The I-Pace is their electric car. I guess they're going with I because it's like iPhone. Yeah, the proof is always going to be in the vehicle. And I was interviewed for the local news here to talk about the Model 3 they brought to Vancouver and showed it to people. And I said, you know, what do you think about Tesla? And I said, well, Tesla really doesn't have anything that's proprietary. You need batteries, you need a platform, you need electric motors, and then you need programming to get an electric car to work. And none of that is proprietary. Every manufacturer can do something with those ingredients to make a vehicle. And here's the thing is, mainline manufacturers like Land Rover, Jaguar, and Audi later this year are both going to have utility vehicles that are all electric, and then you're going to have more and more and more of them coming onto the market from brands that can mass produce vehicles, can do it on time, can do it on budget, can do interiors that are way better than Tesla's, and you know, are going to be able to stand behind the product years down the road. Like, is Tesla going to be able to weather this storm of getting enough production to make actually a profit? Because yet again, they're going to lose billions of dollars. So that's the one thing about the I-Pace is I haven't driven the car. On paper, it looks great. We'll have to wait until we get a chance to touch it and feel it. But those are my thoughts. The new e-tron Audi is coming. By the end of this year, it's going to be out. That's another one. And if I was going to choose between Jaguar and Audi, I'd probably go with Audi for reliability because they have a better track record than Jaguar. Yuri asks back. Yuri, I can't answer your question. What's the best movie to watch on airplanes? Because I've watched hundreds. The best one on the plane. You know what? I travel so much. I get on the airplane. I've seen all the movies. I watch documentaries. That's my thing. You might call me nerdy, whatever, but I like learning something. When I'm going to sit in the plane for 5 hours, might as well find something that is interesting. And music. If there's a documentary about a band like Queen or the Rolling Stones or any of those like from years ago, there you go. Someone says, I have a 2016 GMC Canyon all-terrain. I think it's time to change for a sport version for Canada. I don't really understand your question. A Lexus RX is a Toyota RAV4. Well, loosely. The Toyota RAV4 and the Lexus NX, you got that wrong. Sorry. No, you're wrong on that. I was thinking NX. The Toyota RAV4 and the Lexus NX share the same platform. So no, the RX does not. Hey Zach, really enjoy your reviews. Like your opinion on the Lexus IX 300 2-liter rear-wheel drive. I've had a few questions about this. It's an older product now. Like the IS, I mean, if you want to buy a Lexus and drive it and keep it and it's always going to work, yeah, it's a great product. The interior is kind of dated. The car is kind of getting long in the tooth. There's lots of new options out there. For me, in my opinion, in that class of car, the A4 with 252 horsepower, their 2-liter new direct injection engine is fantastic. You can even get it with a manual if you want, and you can get it with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. But yes, the IS is smaller, and if you're taking people regularly, the back seat is a little small. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with the car. Go and drive one. See if you like it. If you like it, buy it. There's absolutely no reason not to think about it. Hey, Zach, here's an easy one. Would you recommend a used 2004 Range Rover or an LR4 for a first SUV? Would reliability be bad? Yes. People can write the jokes they like. Do not buy a 2004 Range Rover. Do not buy a 2004 Land Rover LR3. 2004, if memory serves me correctly, had the 4.4-liter BMW engine. I'm trying to remember what year it switched over. A lot of people don't remember that the Range Rover and Range Rover Sport had a lot of BMW switchgear in it and engines, and then they sold it, and then it switched over to Ford. But BMW owned Range Rover for a short period of time. But no, do not buy one of those. Do not buy one of those. You could take your money outside and burn it. That would be kind of fun, but don't buy one of those. Somebody just asked, Mark says, has Volkswagen reliability gotten better? Friends I know had a 14 Tiguan. It was horrible. Power locks, radio, even all-wheel drive broke in the first 2 years of ownership. Well, that's too bad. I have asked this question, and the numbers from JD Power and other places, they are improving. Their reliability is getting better. Now, I asked Thomas from Volkswagen Canada about this, and he said the main thing is that the amount of money they spend on warranty repairs has gone way down, which is an arbiter of how well the cars are doing. So yes, I think Volkswagen reliability is getting much better. I just looked at the clock and I've been talking for over an hour, and it's almost 6:30 here on the West Coast, so I got to go and eat something. So I want to thank everybody, and what I want to also say is all the stuff on the bottom of the screen, Instagram, Facebook, all of that kind of stuff, follow along. It's great to have you on here in the live chat. Once again, I'll just put up his thing again here. Max is going to be coming on. There's Max. He's going to be a new contributor. Don't worry, Mike Gurr is still going to be a contributor, but Max is going to be coming on really soon. So look for his first video. There he is talking about the Armada, and he has a charming English accent, which makes him just sound much more with it than anybody else. So thanks to everybody that took part. I really want to say thanks for being here every single week, and it's great that you're with me. So we'll talk to you next week, and thanks a lot.